Welcome to this DaVinci Resolve Fusion node breakdown. Today's node is the difference keyer. So we're going to jump into Fusion, and I've got 4 sets of media. So I just grabbed some quick footage, and I've got this all raw footage here that I just threw a color space transform on real quick. And all it is footage of a blue screen. And then my corny son let me get some footage of him. And then I've got just a shot of the living room, and then a shot of him as well. Because the way the difference keyer works is it takes the difference between 2 sets of footage. So you have to have a clean plate or some clean footage, and then your footage. So let's go ahead and input a difference keyer. So shift space, difference keyer, and we're going to input our clean plate footage into the background. And I'm going to take our footage with our subject in it and put it into the green foreground. And you can notice it tried to take the difference between the 2 footages. And if you notice, we've got a lot of stuff going on over here. So every teeny tiny subtle difference is going to show up and be considered a difference. So if we look at our clean plate, and then we look at the one with our subject, his shadows and everything are in there. And I kind of shot this stuff like this on purpose so you could see how the light changes and the shadows on things in the background is going to get in the way of your difference key. So we've got a bunch of shadows and all the light bouncing back off of him, back onto the blue screen, going from this to our difference keyer. You can see what's left behind. And if I push play, it does a fairly decent job, but nowhere as close as doing something just with a simple keyer like a delta keyer or something. That would do much better on this footage. But I wanted to show you what the difference keyer does. So on the difference keyer, up top, we've got this threshold to change our high and low. So if we start increasing our highs, you can see we're pulling some more of that out. But as a reminder, you always want to go back and keep checking your alpha channels to see what's going on with your footage. And I'm going to talk about this noise here in a second. And I shot this footage a little darker than normal just so I could talk about this noise. And I'll do that when we get to this part here. So as you see, we're starting to bring some of this stuff back in. It's considering it not differences. So we can pull that back to get a little better key. And this is just going to raise your low value. So there we go. A little better key of my son. So happy to be my subject in today's breakdown. So down here we have our filters for our blur, and it has all the common filters: box, Bartlett, multi-box, Gaussian, and fast Gaussian. And this is just so we can add blur to the edges of our mat there. For our clippy mode, this is for our actual footage. And it's going to determine how our edges are handled when we're performing domain of definition rendering. Meaning if some of our footage, either upstream or downstream, is bigger or smaller and our domain of definition changed, this clippy mode is going to change how it handles that. So if I had it set to frame, which is the default, it's automatically going to set the node's domain of definition to use the full frame of the image. So it's going to be ignoring current domain of definition no matter what's going on. If I set it to domain, it's going to respect the upstream domain of definition when applying the node's effect. So it can have adverse clipping effects in situations where the nodes employs a larger filter. And then we have none. And if I have it set to none, it's going to ignore the domain of definition changes. And if there is any domain of definition changes, meaning some of our footage is smaller or larger, it's just going to treat those areas where it's clipping out of the domain of definition as black. So anything outside is just going to be transparent or black. Down here, we can contract or expand. In here, we can change our gamma. Right here, we can invert it if we want. And we can add a solid mat and a garbage mat, meaning we have these extra inputs here. And as always, our little blue input is our effects mask. So if I brought our rectangle in and masked it off, the effect is only going to take place where I have our mask at. For our garbage mat, if I was to plug this into our gray garbage mat input, it's going to consider that a garbage mat, and I can either go on my difference key and select invert, or I can go to my rectangle and invert my rectangle and make any changes I need to make to create my little garbage mat. And then finally, we have this solid mat input, whereas anything we input is going to be considered as a solid mat. So if I go back and re-invert that, now we have a solid mat. And then on our difference keyer, I can invert that solid mat if I want. And then finally, we have post multiply. So by default, it's going to post multiply, but just know if we don't want to post multiply, we're going to probably have to add a alpha multiply afterwards to get that multiplied back in. So let's look at this one. And with this, I'm going to talk about our noise reduction, but I'm not going to quite add it yet because I'm going to show you what happens when we have a bunch of noise going on in our image. And I also want to show the difference of when we're trying to get footage like this, the things you got to look out for, because it's not as simple as getting clean plate, getting your subject, and then keying it all out. So let's go ahead and add a difference keyer. And we're going to input our background to our background, our foreground to our foreground, and let's look at our difference keyer. And it did a fairly decent job, especially since we're not using a blue screen or a green screen. And then we can come up here and we can adjust our highs and our lows to get a better key if we want, and then do all of our other fun stuff. But again, remember to make sure we're looking at our little alpha channel to see what's going on. And like there's crazy stuff going on in this hair for some reason, I don't know. But if we look at this, I'm just refreshing it. If we look at this, you can see all of our noise is being introduced, and every single bit of noise from our two independent footages are considered different. So you can see that's why all this is still in there, because of our noise. And also, if we look over here, we've got a lot of stuff staying in here, because if we look at our original footage, if we look in here, as soon as I pop him in, his shadow's in there from the window. Additionally, there's tons of actual color changes going on that we really don't notice. So if I look at our original footage and we look up in here, you can see maybe clouds went over or shadows happened, and this completely changed the actual look of our footage that we really can't see with the naked eye, but our difference keyer is definitely seeing it. So if we look up here and I switch back and forth, you can see it getting lighter and darker up here between the two images. And that's why a lot of this stuff is staying in there, because even though it's so close, that simple little lighting change is going to change all of this. So when you're using the difference keyer, your best bet is to use artificial lighting and actually light on set, as opposed to be worrying about your natural lighting in your clouds and your skies interfering with your key. Additionally, you can control some of this stuff like shadows. So depending on where you put your light, you can make sure these shadows and stuff aren't happening. But let's talk about noise reduction real quick. So I'm just going to refresh our node here. So we've got a fresh node. After this one, I'm going to hit shift space and add a noise reduction. And let's go to our footage and let's do something we would typically do. I'm going to set it to better. Throw our threshold, I don't know, at 12. Our spatial to better. Actually, let's go AI Ultra. Let's do it all the way up. So let's put this, I don't know, at 0.3. So we've got our little noise reduction going. I'm going to hit Control C, Control V, and I'm going to paste the exact noise reduction on our foreground. And now if I look at our background image here, if we look, we can see it's doing some really weird things back here. And that's because our noise reduction, even though it's the exact copy of our noise reduction, it's not consistent. And I'll go ahead and reduce these so it's not taking so long. And I'm just going to do better and better. And if I look, you can see this weird warbling going on now, and that's all coming from our noise reduction. So doing something simple as applying noise reduction, you would think it would help it out a little better, but it actually makes it worse. So you can see that does some weird stuff, and it is not quite as good as just taking these, removing them, and just doing our footage like that. That's going to be a lot easier to clean than with our noise reduction. So, and I just noticed Dory, our dog, is in the shot too. So that is the difference here. I will see you in the next No Breakdown.